Hi, greetings, it's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and you should be watching this video at the end of week 4. This week we've covered chapter 6 and chapter 7, and there's a lot in these chapters, but basically I want to run down some of the key ideas that you should have gotten out of these two chapters. So chapter 6 is about consumer behavior, and in this you're understanding the consumer decision process, you're understanding factors that influence the consumer decision process, and the involvement and consumer buying decisions. And so really being able to really understand who's buying your product or service really is key, in the processes that they go through in order to be able to make a decision. And I think marketing, as you know, really is about much more than just advertising, but really understanding what people perceive as value. And so first, during the need recognition, consumers realize that they have an unsatisfied need, or that they want something to be addressed. Secondly, you have to begin to search for information to understand how to satisfy their need. And then third, during the alternative evaluation stage, they assess various options available to them to determine which is the best for the purpose. And then finally, fourth, the purchase stage involves obtaining and using the product. And fifth and finally, consumers entering a post-purchase stage, in which they determine whether or not they're satisfied or not, or they're just satisfied, right? So ultimately, you never want to give consumers any reason not to be satisfied with the product or service that you're providing. So how can you, as a business owner or a leader in an organization, make sure that a psychological need has been fulfilled? So it's we're all in our head, right? And ultimately you want people to become raving fans about your product or service, and so you've got to earn that, right? So how can you make it easy for people to choose your product and to be able to give good word of mouth about your product or service? Those are the main questions. So there are internal and external factors that you really must understand in the purchasing decision. You know, what are they buying the product or service and they're finding it they find it easy to find, first of all, and then is there a does it make people look good, or is it making them look bad, or is it helping people avoid looking bad? I guess essentially is kind of a good way of looking at things. You know, are people becoming loyal of your product because they're seeing their friends and family happy with the decision that they've made? You know, you never want to give people buyer's remorse ultimately, right? So the product, place, promotion, and price, these are the factors that affect the buying decision. You have your product in the right place. Are people seeing it in a way that's favorable to them? Are they buying it because they see it as a good value? Are they comparing and contrasting it to other similar products? And are you putting it in a place where people will see it and go, aha, I could use one of those things, you know? And so really you have to make it easy for people to make the best buying decision. And there's a lot of things that are involved in influencing them to make the decision. You know, a lot of times it's our peers. A lot of times it's a picture that looks appealing to people. A lot of times it really is about, you know, understanding the problem that you are addressing with your product or service, and that you've positioned it in a way where psychologically people go, aha, that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's what I need. So ultimately you want to be making sure that you are, especially if you're building a marketing plan, that you have the consumer in mind and that you're doing things to earn their loyalty? Are you making it easy for them to be completely satisfied with your product or service? What are the attributes about your product or service that clearly helps address their wants and their needs? So essentially, in a nutshell, there's a lot of different risks that are involved. Performance, financial need, social, psychological, physiological. How are you addressing each of these in your marketing plan, for instance? Things like lifestyle, perception, learning need to be considered. Family, reference groups, culture, purchasing situation, shopping situation. So that in a nutshell really is what you have to understand about your consumer behavior. The other chapter that we talked about, chapter 7, really is all about business to business marketing. So if you have a product or service that you're building your marketing plan for this class, you really have to be considering ways that business to business firms segment their market. All firms, really, you can't be all things to all people. You have to really be very, very clear on who your target audience is and recognize how you can address them, right? So different needs and wants and characteristics are desired, and so you've got to be able to create a plan that addresses these things. Manufacturers and service providers purchase materials to make their products and components, and offer you can offer expertise to their business, and being able to recognize specifically the value that you can add as a company owner is really important, or a leader in a company. So governments are probably the biggest purchasers of goods and services, and when I say government, I mean United States government, for instance. And of course, you can market to other governments of other organizations if you have a product or service that allows that. But there are so many different types of organizations that may be potential consumers of your product or service. So you have to do a proposal analysis and go through an RFP process in many cases, and be able to negotiate and understand the negotiation process for the type of organization that you want to sell for. And there are lots of different roles that your buyer may play. So being aware of gatekeepers and how can you get through the gatekeepers and decision makers and influencers of the decision making process are some of the things that were covered here. So really understanding what you're in. Organizational culture has a lot to do with decision making, and so do you really understand that organization? Are they autocratic or democratic? Who's making the decisions? How are they doing it? Is it a majority rule process? Are they going through a consultative process? So there's lots of different buying situations that have to be considered as you look at B2B. So again, manufacturers and service providers, resellers, institutions, governments, all of those different types of organizations need to be understood so that you can position yourself properly. So in a nutshell, I'm hoping that you're making time each week to read the chapters more than once, that you're engaging in our discussions in a meaningful way. Answers are always due on Wednesday, 250 words that show that you've read the chapters, and then 3 peer replies on Saturday. Make sure you're doing your Learn Smart homework assignments before the due dates. They're all set up so you can see when the due dates are for each of those assignments. If we're studying a chapter, the Learn Smart is due by Saturday. and likewise the chapter quizzes are due by Saturday. So I'm here to help. Your success is important to me. I guess one of the most important things for you to know is, just like the best employers expect you to do on-time quality work, so do your professors. So watch deadlines, schedule time for success, and know that learning is an active process. The more you learn, the more you have to offer your employers. And so I encourage you and Double Dog dare you to schedule time each week with your team. Document your work in the week 2 team module area and create a meaningful marketing plan on your own and document each section. Then come together and work with your team members virtually using Google Hangouts, for instance, or in person to work through each section, so that you're not just throwing together a project that's due in week 9, but you're throwing together you're putting together a quality project, marketing plan, and accompanying marketing materials that are requested in the syllabus. Make it an experience that you'd be powerfully influenced to share with potential employers, that you are proud of, that's quality, that's free of errors. Anyway, I've talked enough, but I'm hoping that you're enjoying the course. You get out of life what you put into it, and I'm hoping you're putting in quality time that helps you learn these concepts so that you can become powerful in your life. Have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr. Paul Gay.